Welcome to Black Men Speak. I'm your host, Jimmy Stewart, and my co-host, Tommy Duncan. Tommy Duncan the third, so let's be accurate. And today we're going to talk a little sports, NBA playoffs, and if we have time, maybe get to the disastrous Cowboy draft. Tom, let's start with the more interesting series, Houston Golden State. So what do you think so far?
Well, I guess what it goes to show is, from my understanding, Houston has been built through acquisitions to beat Golden State. And so I think Golden State came out and made a very strong statement in Game 1, kind of enforced its will on Houston in Houston. And then Houston came back and said, okay, we got a whole court. So Houston said that they should be in the race. I think that's the biggest thing in Game 2. Is that they're definitely competitors in the Western Conference Final.
Now, it seemed like Game 1, Houston played the kind of ball they typically play. It was more isolation type ball where everybody kind of spreads out and let Harden kind of do his thing one-on-one. Mm-hmm. But in Game 2, they seemed like they were playing Golden State ball. They were passing, everybody touching the ball. They moved it quite a bit. It wasn't as much isolation basketball as you normally see from Houston. So do you think Houston beat Golden State at their own game in Game 2?
I think a couple of things happened from what I saw. Number one, I think Houston did an extremely good job of getting the ball around. I mean,
what I moved around. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I was seeing 4, 5, 6 different passes before they got to the ball. And Golden State, I don't know, they just didn't seem to have the energy that I was accustomed to seeing them have. And so I don't. Maybe they beat them at their own game, but I think Golden State came out a little bit flat, couldn't catch up, got behind early. And to his credit, CP3, he has had an excellent series, both Game 1 and Game 2. I think he got more help. Matter of fact, him, James Harden, and the supporting cast gave him help, and I think overall they just played a solid game.
They did play a solid game. So I think Golden State every now and then is going to have a bad game, and that was a bad game for them. They missed a lot. They had a lot of good looks. The ball just wasn't falling for them, so that made the difference. So I wouldn't expect him to shoot that poorly throughout the series. So they're going to bounce back, and when they do, what I'm hoping for is to have one of those games where both teams are playing well, where both of them are making their shots and making plays, and it really just comes down to who has the ball the last few possessions, the last minute where the game is decided. So to me, that's rather than these blowouts either way. So because Houston had a lot of good looks in Game 1, they missed a lot of shots. They rebounded in Game 2. Game 2, Golden State had a lot of good looks, missed a lot of shots, which is not typical for them. So hopefully, hopefully Game 3 and 4, they both are in sync and putting their both best product on the floor. And giving us a really good game.
Yeah, and it also uncharacteristic of Golden State. A lot of turnovers, especially in the first quarter, first half. Draymond Green didn't really have a good game.
No, he did not.
KD, I think, came to play, but
it's hard to stop him.
There he goes. Stephon Curry, very, very mediocre game at best.
A mediocre game.
And Draymond Green, when you looked at what he was hitting in Game 1 versus Game 2, it was almost...
Well, they were daring to shoot in Game 1. They left them open on the three-point line quite a bit in Game 1, almost daring to take the shot. But he is a player who can hit that shot. It's not like, he can't make it. So that may not have been the best move on Houston's part to leave him that wide open that many times. But yes, Steph Curry was almost irrelevant in Game 2. Green did not have the game he had. I'm not even sure Thompson had a big game. So when that many players are off their game, you can really beat Golden State. In fact, for me, the key is if Golden State hits 30 points a quarter, or average 30 a quarter, they're going to win that game. They're looking at 120 points at that point, or 100 plus at least easily. And I don't know how many teams can do that game in and game out, night after night, score 110, 120 points. If you can, then you can keep pace with Golden State and then have a chance of beating them. Or if you hold them under 100 points, like Cleveland did a couple of years ago, then you have a good chance of beating them. You can play defense well enough to keep their scoring in check. But they didn't have KD at that point, so when they had a couple of players who were off their game, then they became easily beatable. So I don't think Houston plays great defense. I don't think Golden State plays good defense at times. but they're not really locked. They're not really a lockdown team. They're a team that's built to outscore you. So and this is going to come down to a shooting match and who can outscore whom in the end. But I really think that this is going to be like a 4-2 series. I think Golden State's going to win in the end.
Yeah, and what you'll notice also is that Houston kept Golden State for under 100 points. And you're not going to find that happening too many times. If somehow they can keep them under 100 points, this could go to a game 6 or a game 7.
So it wasn't like they kept them under 100 points because they played just great, in-your-face, shut-down defense. Really, Golden State just missed a lot of shots, a lot of really good looks they normally would make. But yes, if they're not getting 30 points a quarter, then you have a good chance of beating them at that point. So, and when I looked at the score at halftime, in fact, after the first quarter, I called my cousin up and told him that like Houston was going to win this game. Mm-hmm. So I already saw how it was going, and then it didn't get any better after that. So we're going to tip our hat off to Cleveland. So let's move on to the Eastern Conference now with Cleveland and Boston. What do you think about that series?
I think that Boston continues to surprise a lot of folks, even though they were at the top of the series or the top of the heap in the East until, of course, Kyrie went down. And
yes.
So they're two best players, basically.
Kyrie and Hayward.
Yeah, exactly. So, all things being considered, I don't think that the expectations were very high for Boston this year. So I think that they have played very phenomenal. One of the things that you see with Boston is they're very young, very energetic, very disciplined team. And for a team to be, Jimmy, that young, I think maybe the average age is maybe 24 years old. And these guys are very disciplined. They're very confident. They're playing with a lot of swagger against a very good Cleveland team and against the best basketball player in the world.
Yes.
So I think that Cleveland may have underestimated them a little bit. I don't believe that, unfortunately, most of Cleveland's role players, you talk about J.R. Smith, you talk about Tristan Thompson, their role players really aren't making a significant impact on the game. Their bench, isn't providing that much. It's pretty much been LeBron and the Kevin Love show, and they've got to do better than that if they have a chance to make this a competitive series.
Now, to me, the coach, I think, deserves a lot of credit. You lose two of your best players, and you still get into the playoff, and then now you're in the conference finals, and somehow you don't win Coach of the Year. And the Coach of the Year gets fired from his team. Somehow there's I don't know, the sports writers, I don't know if they look at the same basketball we're looking at, but it seemed this was odd. This would have been an easy pick for me that the new coach at Boston would have gotten Coach of the Year.
That's a good question. I'm not one of the writers. I don't see how, given what Boston has done this year with two of their best players who went down that early in the season, to do as well as they have, I don't understand that either.
I don't understand that pick either. So LeBron, now he's down 0-2. He's been there before, and he doesn't seem to be panicked or worried. But I really think if I was him, I'd really start thinking about my legacy at this point. And fair or unfair, he has 3 rings. He has 3 championships. He's been there 7 or 8 times. He's probably, outside of those Boston teams, probably the only other player to have been to that many finals in his career. That's quite a bit. But he only has 3 victories.
Right.
And if he doesn't get the 5, then I'm afraid he's going to end up I don't know, maybe like a Larry Bird or Tim Duncan, which I think Tim Duncan's probably one of the
best.
Which
Tim had 5.
Tim had 4.
4, okay.
Tim had 4. But you never see Tim Duncan's name mentioned in the best ever conversation. He was probably the best power forward in the history of basketball. But because he didn't quite get to that 5 threshold, then he's left out of the conversation. Larry Bird left out of the conversation. So unfortunately, Shaq and Kobe and Jordan has 6, but really the threshold now is almost 5 rings to be considered one of the best ever, no matter how good you are. Will Champion is not even mentioned in that best of conversation, and he's probably the best to ever play basketball. Without a doubt,
pure talent.
Yeah, pure talent, without a doubt. I know Russell was good and won all the rings, but Champion still was the best on the floor, man, in his position.
But at the end of the day, ultimately, people are counting rings.
Counting rings, man.
So I think that's what it really, whether it's football, basketball, or whatever sport it is. You're right about that. So yeah.
So LeBron can find a way to get 2 more rings. The history books may not be kind to him, is my concern. And at his age, if I was him, I think the writing's on the wall. You're not going to win another championship in Cleveland.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's going to be kind of strange because, I mean, LeBron, if you look statistically speaking, is by far, if not one of the best, if not one of the best
No, when you
in this generation, yes, of all time, well, that's a different argument.
Sure.
Of all time, but of this generation, clearly he is the best player. But I guess the other thing that a lot of people are looking at is not just the level of talent, but who he's been playing against. So, people will argue that when Jordan, who is considered to be the best basketball player of all time, when he was playing, he had to play against the Detroit Pistons.
Sure.
He had to play against the Lakers with Magic. He had to play against Knicks. He had to play against the Indiana Pacers. I mean, don't forget Reggie Miller.
That's right.
And so they played against a lot of great teams, not against a lot of great individuals.
Back when they played defense back then.
Absolutely. They played football and basketball.
Van Beer wasn't trying to block your shot, but if he went up to contest your shot, you would end up on the floor.
Straight to the top. Straight to the top.
They played some physical basketball back then to make your point. So sometimes it's just not fair to make those kind of comparisons. You have to keep the comparison within your era of basketball and who you're playing against. But the other thing, though, that strikes me about the league in general, that really irks me when I watch basketball year after year, is the number of players who don't seem to be getting any better. A lot of the role players who, if you couldn't shoot free throws this year, you come back next year, you still can't shoot free throws. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a jump shot or can't shoot a three-pointer, you still can't shoot it. What do these guys have to do in their off time besides practice and hire a coach and make improve your skills and make the product that you present better? It seems like you don't have time to devote time. They enjoy the money and everything that it brings, that basketball brings, but doesn't seem like they have the work ethic of the Birds and the Magic and the Jordans back in that era, man, to improve their game. I mean, I could watch Magic when he came into the league. Didn't have much of a jump shot. He was a very tall point guard, so he could pass the ball, he could dribble. But over time, he improved his rebounding, he improved his scoring, he improved his jump shot, he improved every facet of his game. Michael Jordan didn't have much of a three-point shot when he came to the league, but he was an excellent driver. He could dunk on it, he could finish strong. But he developed a jump shot to prolong his game, so he didn't have to take all those pounding that it takes when you're in the lane all the time. And that actually probably added years to his career. But I watch guys today, and they're so one-dimensional, so siloed with their skills. They either rebound, or you shoot, or you're an inside player, but you don't do all three anymore.
No, I'd agree with you 100%. And I think it's interesting because now, you definitely can't say it's not the money that they have to during the offseason.
Look, who's the kid we got from the Mavericks picked up from Golden State? Barnes.
Right.
I mean, you pay Barnes $25, $26 million.
That's a superstar money.
Which is more than what KD is making in Golden State, and he is a superstar. $25 million for that. I mean, this is what the league has come to now. And he's not the only one. There are a lot of sort of average, mediocre, just barely above mediocrity players who are making $25 million a year in this league.
It's very interesting to bring up that point, considering the Mavericks that we come.
Not to say anything being bad about Barnes, man. You can make the money, someone's willing to pay it, take it.
Take it, but you have Cliff Barnes, who came from Golden State. He wasn't a superstar, and arguably, if he would have hit more shots when he was supposed to, Golden State would probably had another ring by now.
Yes,
because he was one of those role players.
Can't play all the time. He flattened out. He flatlined. He died on it.
Exactly.
And they were counting on him on a lot of those games. He just couldn't deliver, so he couldn't nail the shot, and especially when Curry's game was a little off. Thompson then found himself not being able to do it all by himself, even though he had his game stepped up at that time. But you're right. Maybe if Barnes had a better game, maybe Golden State have another ring at this point.
And I guess my question is, with the Dallas Mavericks in particular, Cliff Barnes, if you're paying him $25 million a year, he is someone who should be able to carry
a team.
You have
like a pack mule. That's right. Pack all your supplies in his back and ride him to the fourth quarter to the clock runs down.
He should be the LeBron of the Dallas Mavericks.
Man.
But on top of that, you got Dirk Nowitzki, who even though he's definitely on the edge of retirement, still arguably one of the best players in NBA history.
Yes.
When you look at his numbers and you look at his production. The Mavericks have a couple of young guys. You have a young cat that they got this year who is devastating. Yet they're at the bottom of the barrel.
Smith, yes.
Yeah.
Good kid from North Carolina State. I remember watching him play Duke, and I knew that kid. I mean, he's a baller. He can play. But I think he'll be one of those, 20 points, maybe 10 rebound kind of a kid, which is really good numbers in the NBA. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he'll rise to that point of superstar. I don't think he gets into the KD, Curry, Harden, LeBron sort of echelon of players.
Do you think it's a size or a talent issue or something different?
I think he's a good, solid basketball player. I think he's a good 20 points per game guy. Every now and then he'll pump in maybe 30 plus. But can you do it every night? LeBron, if he wanted to, could probably score 40, 90% of the time if he wanted to. And I think that's to me, that's part of the problem with him is that he doesn't play selfish enough. I've been saying for years that the problem with Cleveland is part of it is just the coach. If I'm coaching LeBron James, if I'm coaching LeBron, I'm going to ride him like a pack mule. There's times when he just has to put the team on his back and carry because when the game is over with and we lose or we don't win a ring or we don't achieve our goals, it's LeBron that's on that podium being asked the question, not any of the supporting players. None of those guys are there. Maybe Kyrie when he was there, but right now it's just LeBron on that podium. So with that being the case, you have to be the guy to deliver. I know you want to get other people involved, and everybody says pass the ball around, get everybody involved, but you know what? Those other guys are only, you can only count them for only so many times. They'll have good games every now and then. Every now and then, all of them have a good game, and it looks like that's the formula, that's the way to go. But for 82 games, can they all have a good game? No. They don't let you down more often than not. And during that time, LeBron has to step up and carry his team. Just like with Houston now. This game, too, I think, Houston played a style of basketball they're not used to. And it worked for them. Everybody on that team was, they were drop kicking in baskets, man. Everything they threw up just about went in. And so it gives you, so that doesn't give D'Antoni the illusion that maybe this is the way we should play rather than isolation ball that we've been playing all year long. But I guarantee you, Tom, if they continue to play that style, they're going to lose. And the reason being is because all the supporting Houston, because that supporting cast that they're counting on to make those shots are not going to make them game in and game out. This was one of those games where all the pieces fell into place. Next game, you try that style, all the pieces are not going to fall into place. Just like game one. Those same guys on the same floor taking a lot of the same shots, the shots are not going in. So every now and then, you're going to have one of those games where everything goes right. And then Houston's going to have one of those games where everything goes wrong. And then you have those games where it's half and half. And then you just have to wheel your way to victory if you're going to win. But Golden State is more suited for that style because they have the guys like Thompson, like KD, like Curry, like Green, even Livingston coming off the bench, and a couple of their rookie young players. Iguodala, I forgot about him, plays really good. They have guys who can score and make plays on that team. They're built for that. You can count these guys game in and game out. Whereas Houston, I'm not sure, but we'll see.
So in your opinion, what does it take for Houston to win the Western Conference Finals?
I think they're going to have to pick up the defense. If your strategy is to outscore Golden State and just have a free-for-all, a shootout, then you're going to win that. You're going to lose that series. I think for Houston, and D'Antoni is not known for defense. He's known for those running gun style teams for offense. But Houston's going to step it up on the defensive end. They're going to make some stops and make some plays. Not count on Golden State to continue to misfire on their jump shots because we know what they can do. And especially when they get into a groove and get into a habit, not a habit, but a rhythm, a basketball rhythm where they're playing really well. So unlike Houston where when things are tight, so when you're up and things are going well, it's easy to go out there and make plays. Right. Because there's no pressure on you. But when the pressure is on, when the game is tight, the game is on the line, will those same players be able to step up at that point? And that to me, that's going to be the difference maker because Golden State has players that will step up at that time, that are used to being in that situation, that can still make plays when the game is tight and the pressure is on. I don't have to just give it to KD and stand back and let him win the game for me. They have guys that can, when KD give the ball up, then they have other guys who can still make the play. On Houston, they have Harden. When Harden gives the ball up and the game is tight, will those other guys be able to make the play? And if they don't make it, then Hardy's going to be on that podium explaining why he didn't take the last shot, or why he didn't do more isolation ball, why did you give the ball up in that situation? It's almost like UNLV and Duke many years ago when can't think of the powerful
Larry Johnson.
Larry Johnson gave the ball up when everybody was expecting him to take the last shot.
Right.
So it's going to be one of those situations, man. So I think that Houston probably should return back to the style of play that got them the best record in the NBA, got them one of the highest scoring averages in the NBA. I think trying to play this style with Golden State is suited for it. In the long term, you're not.
Right. I agree with you. I think that Houston does have to make sure they're playing consistent defense. I mean, honestly, if they can somehow keep Golden State within 100 to maybe 105 points,
I think 110. Yes.
Yeah. I think they have a very good shot at taking this game to 6 or 7, possibly even winning. But the reality of it is also CP3 and James Harden both have to have very good games in practically every game. And then the other thing, I did see that CP3 he was limping.
He was limping, so let's hope his leg is okay or ankle is okay, because you're right. Like game 1, he wasn't much of a factor. Game 2, he was huge. He came up huge in game 2. And if he's at 100% for game 3, then Golden State may make quick work of Houston in that game. They need all their players on the floor producing. So with the time we have left, we have a few minutes left. So let's see if we can transition and talk about our Dallas Cowboys in this draft. Now I'm going to say up front, I have no problem with Scarborough. I have no problem with you drafting from Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, LSU, even A&M. Any team in the SEC just about is probably a safe pick if they're a stud player on that team. Boise State does not get a first-round draft pick from me. I don't care how great the player is, man. I mean,
so the linebacker, you're going
for a first-round pick, I think Mel Kiper had him as the 4th or 5th best linebacker in the draft.
Yeah.
And they said on most of the mock drafts they have him going to 3rd or 4th round.
3rd or 4th.
3rd or 4th.
Okay.
And you waste a 2nd-round pick would have been a stretch. But the waste a first-round pick on this kid, that's not this kid's fault. Don't get me wrong now. I'm not blaming him for it. He was drafted. I'm blaming the Cowboys for making such a bonehead decision. And then when they made the pick, you notice that there were no sports writers. There was nobody in the football universe that was saying that was a good pick.
Or much less a steal.
Oh, steal, thank you. Nobody was moving up to get this kid. He was not part of the negotiation. And the Cowboys celebrated like they just got the steal of the century. I'm like, and then they showed the highlight clip. I mean, it was just okay. I mean, like, I want to see like Warren Sapp back when he was in college, man, just tearing up things, man. Throwing people aside. I'm like, I'm expecting to see an earth mover for a first-round draft pick. I just didn't see it, Tom.
Yeah, it was an interesting pick to me. I mean, and clearly the Cowboys do have to shore up their defense. I mean, Sean Lee, when he's on the field, when he's healthy, is probably one of the best linebackers in the NFL. And for sure, he makes probably 20 to 30% of the tackles on the Cowboys when he's healthy, when he's in the game. And so they have to figure out, if Sean Lee is down, who do we have? But in terms of the overall pick, in terms of not just me, but who's the best player in the draft at that point in time, they looked over a lot of other players.
Yes, they did. The fact that we need a wide receiver, you let your star wide receiver go. And I understand that some thought he was on the decline, but still, he was still your star wide receiver.
Right.
And Ripley is on the board when you're coming up for your first round pick, and then you pass on him.
Calvin Ridley from Alabama.
Yes. Right. Like I said, really, I'm going to tell you, I'm a big Alabama fan. You cannot go wrong drafting from Alabama. Now, come on, that's just a little mini football factory down there, man. I don't know how many players they put into the league every year, 15 plus, but a lot of the players do end up in the NFL because they're such a well-disciplined, well-coached. You know what you're getting when you draft someone from Alabama. And this is not even a big passing team. This is a running team. So for Ripley to make any kind of ripples down there in Alabama as a wide receiver, you have to be damn good because you're going to get maybe 6 balls thrown your way in the whole game if you're lucky. And when those 6 balls come your way, you have to not only catch the ball, you have to make something happen when you catch the ball in order to get noticed as a wide receiver from Alabama.
Yeah, I guess one of my concerns with it, and I'm pretty sure that the guy is a solid linebacker, but the question is, considering the conference that he came from, and when you look at the level of competition that you have in the NFL and in the NFC East in particular, the best teams that Boise State played were Washington State and San Jose State. For the entire year, those were the best teams. Those were the only ranked teams.
I think San Diego was ranked for a minute.
Yeah, they were ranked 21.
Okay, yeah.
Then I think Washington State was ranked. But if you put San Diego State and or Washington State in the SEC or even the ACC for that matter, they would not have a chance. And so my question is, he's probably a very solid linebacker in that division. But if you put him in the SEC, if you put him in the ACC, if you even put him in the Big Ten, I'm just trying to figure out, at the next level, everyone is bigger, faster, tougher. And my question is, how is he going to line up with the level of competition? Obviously, the Cowboys think he's going to line up and be very competitive and do extremely well. But you have to consider the fact that they're going to have to go play against the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles twice.
Yes.
They're going to have to go against
the Giants team.
And they have the number one, probably not, if not the number one player, one of the number one player, top 3 for sure, running backs out of the draft. For what it's worth, I think that the Redskins have a lot of talent, but they figure out how not to do anything with it every year. But suffice it to say, the level of competition that he's been playing with over the last 3 or 4 years, and then you bring him to the next level and take him to number 1 is my issue. Your number 1 pick.
Is your number 1 pick. That is amazing. In fact, who's the worst team in the SEC? Was that like maybe Tennessee?
Maybe Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt? You take Vanderbilt and put them over there with San Diego State and Boise and Washington. They win that conference outright, easily, every year.
They may. Yeah. I mean, they have a competitive team, but when you have to play against Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Texas A&M,
LSU,
Mississippi,
even a rebuilding LSU team, which is still good.
Right.
But every week in the SEC, you are playing against players who are going to be in the NFL after the end of the season.
And when you bring up that point, Alabama had how many? 12, 13 players picked in the draft
every year. Yeah, I mean
in this draft.
In this draft, yes,
absolutely.
So they send a lot of players to the NFL. But like I said, you're going to get Georgia sending players to the NFL, LSU, A&M. I mean, all these schools, the middle tier schools in the SEC are still sending players to the NFL.
Right.
So these are good players. They're not just one player on a team. They have multiple players. So every week, if you're in the SEC, you're going against NFL caliber talent every week when you're playing. And if you're not good enough to compete at that level, you get crushed in the SEC quickly. But Boise, I don't know who they're really playing against. I don't know if they play against that much NFL talent week in and week out. You could probably, if you have some talent that we play at the NFL level, you probably would excel in one of those weaker conferences because you're not going against talent that's comparable to you. In the SEC, you're going against people that are just as good as you every week.
Right. And suffice it to say, there are some teams like Alabama and a few other teams who might be able to beat some NFL teams.
Yeah.
At least the bottom of the early.
And that's just a knock against the weak teams. I'm not going to say weak teams because even Alabama struggled with some teams in the SEC that people say, okay, you should easily beat, and then you look up and you're in a fight. You got to fight your way to victory to get out of there, and that just goes to show that on any given weekend, any given Saturday, even some of the Vanderbilts and the Tennessees of the SEC can knock you off if you're not on your game.
So, interesting. So, from my understanding, the Cowboys have now said that they're going to manage their wide receiver core by committee. So, there's not going to be a super. You're not going to have, one key guy who's going to help stretch the field, but they're going to manage. How does that look to you in terms of?
That's a formula for disaster, Tom. Because if you don't have a player like Julio Jones, for instance, now paired up with Ripley, that's probably the best duo in the NFL. But if you don't have a receiver that can stretch the defense, that can cause concerns for defensive coordinators, they're just going to put 8, 9 in the block to stop the run. Mm-hmm. Because they can man-to-man you up on what wide receiver in Dallas actually scares you. Nobody really.
At this point.
Yeah, at this point, there's nobody that's going to scare defense. And they can say, hey, if you can just hold them for 3 seconds, for 5 seconds, play them one-on-one and cover them for 5 seconds, we'll put 8, 9 in the block, put pressure on the quarterback if they decide to throw, run blitz the running back if they decide to run, and make life very uncomfortable for the Cowboys if you can do this. And I think that's what teams are going to do. You won't see any too deeps against the Cowboys. You won't see very much prevent defense against the Cowboys. They don't have the receivers to scare anybody into doing those kind of things. So they'll ban up on Dallas across the board.
And I think what the problem is now is not only is your best receiver now gone, your 2 best receivers are now.
Oh yes, the tight end retired, man. So
exactly.
Which I'm good for him, man. Get out of the game while you're healthy and young. You made your money. You move on to a sportscaster career. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. Hey, look, Jason Witten. I think if not the first and second ballot Hall of Famer, he's gone. Dez is gone. I agree with you. Everyone's going to stack up. You have no one who can stretch the field, which is going to make it a lot harder for Ezekiel Elliott, regardless of how good the Cowboys' offensive line is.
That line is going to be superb this coming season, and the other's going to be great if the Cowboys have a chance. Let's give a couple of shout-outs to some of our supporters and sponsors. So we want to say thank you to Fitness 360 for allowing us to come in and use their building as our studio to shoot the show. And do we have anyone else we want to? Oh, MOTC Telecom provided the equipment to Forest Films for doing the editing for us and then upload it to YouTube. Anyone else forget, Tom, or anyone else you want to mention? Or
hey, our subscribers, just like
our subscribers. That's right. I forgot about it. Thank our subscribers, and please help us out by subscribing and watching our video. And then if you have anything you want us to talk about, feel free to leave us comments. We will respond to every comment that's left for us. And then I think that's pretty much it, Tom. So we'll just say goodbye. So from Tom and myself, we appreciate you watching our video. Thank you so much. Please come back next week for our next installment. Thank you.